What is up, everybody? The Jake Take. It is Monday, February 10th, 2025. Had a great weekend full of a lot of good sports. Obviously, UFC 312 Saturday night. And then the Eagles with an absolute stomping on the Chiefs last night. I was so happy to see that. So happy. But that is not what this video is about. Even though I could make an hour-long video on how much the Eagles just dominated the Chiefs in every aspect of that game. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today, I am going through my UFC 2025 bold predictions. There's a lot of good content here, I think. Be sure to like and subscribe, comment, everything. Like I said, I'm willing to have anybody on this to do a collab. So I'm liking my channel so far. I think it's going really well, and obviously through time we'll get better. But I'm starting with a $0 setup. And we got some views going, and to everybody that actually, watched my first two videos or even one of my videos so far, thank you. And let's just get right into it, right? Let's just get right into it. So also want to say that at the very end of this video, stick around for it, because I'm going to be going over what my prediction is for the Dana White surprise fight for this year. If you go back to a couple press conferences ago, he mentioned doing a fight that nobody expected, and nobody's going to guess what it is. Well, I am. The Jake Take starts right now. Let's go. All right. So, my first bold prediction for the UFC in 2025. Now, whether this is bold or not, I guess it's kind of borderline. We'll start off with the borderline, then work our way up to the more bold. But my first take is that Merab Dvalishvili will not lose in 2025. I really don't see a top contender up there that's waiting for him that's really going to give him a lot of trouble. We look at Umar, who you could see a potential rematch with, depending on what they do with him. He's only had one hard fight other than Merab, and that was Corey Sandhagen. And Corey Sandhagen is a good fighter. And Umar definitely had a good fight against Corey Sandhagen, but I think that Umar has a lot to work on. I think that he is a potential champion. Some argue that Umar won the third round. Let me hear your thoughts in the comments. I don't think he did. I think Merab started to heat up as the rounds went on. He's used to these 5-round fights, and he's just the cardio master. I don't see a guy like O'Malley coming in and beating Merab in his fight. Merab, that's one thing Merab does really, really well in all of his fights, is he makes them his. And he fights his fight. He makes you, the opponent, fight his fight. And that's what he did to Sean O'Malley at the Sphere. That's what he did to Umar Nurmagomedov. That's what he did to Henry Cejudo. I do think that Merab has a little bit of a weaker chin. Cejudo chinned him a little bit, kind of almost dropped him. I think wobbled him pretty good. But O'Malley's about the only chance I see that happening, getting chinned against, is Sean O'Malley. But and it could happen. It could happen. But in 2025, I just don't see him losing. I honestly see him having like a really good historical run at bantamweight. So I don't know. Let me hear your thoughts on that. Is it a really super bold take? Probably not as bold as what you were expecting right off rip, but still a bold take at that, because predicting a guy having a reign, I think, is pretty bold. So Merab will not lose in 2025. I could see me watching this video again at the end of 2025 and just reflecting on it and saying, damn, I was right all along. Moving on to the next crazy take. there's a lot of talks going on right now between Ilya and Islam Makhachev fighting. Whether this is true or not, I don't know. I don't think this is a good thing for Ilya. But my bold take is that Islam will win in that fight against Ilya Topuria. Islam just has the tools. He's going to go in there. I mean, we're almost talking about Islam moving up to 185. So I don't think a guy as small as Ilya can move up and beat Islam. Some people, actually a lot of people, think that he can. I don't. That's why it's a bold take. I don't see that happening. Plus, to add on to everything, Ilya still has a lot of work to do at featherweight. I think that, he's got the Volk rematch. He's got the Diego Lopez fight. He's got some up-and-comers like Evlov, who's still fighting at featherweight, who would give him a real run for his money, I believe. So I still think that Ilya should remain at 145, take care of a little more business there before we start talking about moving up. Because if we really want to see how Ilya would do against Islam in a fight, we need to see the matchup between Evlov and Ilya. That is how we're going to really see how Ilya responds to the grappling and to the wrestling from the Dagestani background. We haven't really seen that. And while Ilya did take care of business against Max Holloway and Volk, he sort of struggled at the shit. Why the fuck am I messing up? I don't even know where I was going with that. Whatever. Who cares? He's not beating Islam. He's not. So don't even think about it. No, but let me hear your thoughts. Drop your thoughts below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And if you think I'm bullshitting, then let me know. But moving on to the next one. Aspinall beats John Jones. I think that just happens. It's like... It's one of those things where John Jones seems like he's sort of on his way out. He's got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Aspinall can go in there and really take care of business. John Jones has a lot of very good tools and would have to get extremely motivated in this fight. More motivated than he's been, I think, in his last, at least 5 fights. You're going against a guy with extreme knockout power. I would say Aspinall is just as scary to fight as Francis Ngannou. So he somehow avoided Ngannou, but I don't think he's going to go in there and beat Aspinall. That would be a great way to go out, regardless of the decision or of the turnout of the fight, the verdict, you could say. John Jones still has cemented his legacy as the greatest fighter of all time. That's debatable in my opinion due to his past of, steroid use and also his out of the cage things. I think that, when you're a fighter in the UFC, your image is pretty much everything. Obviously your fighting style is one thing, but we can see with guys like Sean Strickland who go in there and kind of just use his jab and use his front kick, his teep kick. It's kind of like, is he super exciting to watch fight? No, but he's got a big personality outside of the UFC. And I think that if something like that were to happen in modern times with the modern day fan, with the modern day media that we have at our disposal, I really think that the crackdown on John Jones would be a lot harder, a lot harsher, and I think that a lot of people would discount him from being considered the GOAT just because of his inability to, be mature at some points. But John Jones will forever be a GOAT. Just his amount of finishes that he's had, and also just the crazy fights in general. But no disrespect to John Jones whatsoever. I just think Aspinall can get it done. He's the younger guy. He's way more motivated, and we see that. We see that all the time. We see that with guys like Imavov versus Izzy. Izzy's kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out a little bit. You can't be like that in the UFC. These guys, especially if you're fighting an up-and-coming dog, these guys are hungry. They want the title. They want the money. They want the fame. They want everything. So you can't ever be 1 foot in, 1 foot out in the UFC. I will say this about Jon Jones, is I think that he would not be that kind of guy. I think that Jon Jones is so motivated at all times and is such a hard, disciplined worker that I don't think that would be the case in a fight against Aspinall. I really think that he would go all in on it, make it his last fight, but he's not going to be the type of guy that's 1 foot in, 1 foot out thought process. I really think he would go all in on that fight. But bold take, Aspinall gets it done against Jon Jones. So I think at this point I just want to go over the mystery fight. I have a few predictions of what I think it would be. Some of them are a little out there, right? But I think that we really have to consider this. He said it's something that nobody's ever going to guess. Does that mean it's a boxing fight, right? Does that mean that it's two slap fighters, right? Two slap, what do you call them? Slap artists? I don't know. Two slap artists. I'm going to call them slap artists. Two of those guys getting in the octagon together. Who knows, right? I think that would be something that Dana could think about doing, and maybe that's what it is. I could definitely see, with the amount he's been promoting this power slap, him bringing two of the gentlemen as champion and maybe number one contender. If that's how it works, I think that's how it works. Coming and bringing them in for a UFC fight, that would be a fun watch. But overall, it wouldn't really have the hype behind it that he kind of implied. So I could see something like that happening, but I have a few predictions that I want to run by you. So let's go over them right now. The first one is, I think that everybody could probably guess what I'm about to say. Conor versus Nate. I think that this is a good possibility to kind of bring Conor back. I think that when Conor looks at a guy like Michael Chandler, he's a little bit intimidated because he's number one. It's not because of mindset or it's not because of attitude. It's because of the injury that he sustained in the Dustin Poirier fight. That is a gruesome injury. Most fighters do not come back from that. I don't even know how Chris Weidman is still fighting. I mean, the dude literally snapped his leg. So I think that is the number one driving force of him not coming back right now, is that injury to the leg against Dustin Poirier. But to bring Nate back into the UFC and to offer that fight to Conor, I could totally see that happening, and I could definitely see where people would be really, really, really excited for that fight. But the one thing that's kind of making me regress a little bit on that thought is just because I think a lot of people have considered this to be the fight that Dana is talking about. Personally, I would be super, super excited to see these guys get in the octagon together. Two legends of the UFC, two of the biggest talkers. The press conference would be insane. The fight week would be insane. The fight itself would be insane. And you could even make it at 170 so that the two guys don't have to cut as much weight coming back into the UFC. I could see that happening. And honestly, Dana, we need to get that fight done, because I just don't think that Conor is going to come back and sign on the dotted line against a guy like Chandler. I think that Conor has no fear and will fight anyone, but I will say he still has a legacy to live up, and he doesn't want to go back and fight a guy like Chandler, who has the ability to knock him out and also has the ability to just wrestle his ass off and make it just a dirty, dirty fight for you. And here's the other problem. Conor's not going to come back and fight a 3-rounder. We want to see Conor in a main event. It's going to be a 5-round fight. So this is the other issue that we're kind of toying with when it comes to Conor. Personally, I think that this could be the fight to make. There's also a part of me, a really actually big part of me, that doesn't think Conor will come back. I think we've probably seen the last of Conor McGregor, unfortunately. Trust me, I definitely want to see Conor come back, and I don't give a shit who he fights. If he comes back and fights, a guy in the top 15, outside of the top 15, I don't care. I just, we all love Conor because he really, really set the stage for the UFC, the modern day UFC product. He set the stage for it. But, I think that I'm about 70-30 believing Conor will not come back, and then the 30% chance believes that he would come back and take a fight against a guy like Nate Diaz. And here we start working our way, right? I mentioned boxing, the fight that Dana could make if it's a boxing fight. You could definitely make a fight like Tank Davis versus Sean O'Malley. I think that this would be a crazy fight. If Dana were to dip his finger into the boxing world, I think that this would be a crazy fight to start off with. I definitely don't think Sean O'Malley would get it done, but I still think that this would be a crazy fun fight to watch. The build up, everything around it would be awesome, and it would just sort of set the stage as to bringing guys together again in combat sports. And Dana just doesn't. And I think Dana has a great point, because I personally don't watch the boxing world as much as I do the MMA world. Just the boxing world just kind of falls off. There's too many belts. There's too many fighters. You got guys that are taking fights against shitty dudes just because they don't want to lose. It's the nastiest product in combat sports, and I would much rather watch a jiu-jitsu tournament or a kickboxing tournament or just MMA in general. It doesn't really matter which league. I would much rather watch that versus boxing right now. And Jake Paul, you suck, by the way. You're a liar, and I'm from Ohio, and we don't claim you, bro, because you're a literal tool bag. And to even sit here and claim that Canelo ducked you makes you look like the biggest jackass in the history of jackasses, because I promise you that guy weighs 50 pounds less than you and would still whoop the shit out of you. So I would stop talking, because that does not make any sense. Side note, sorry about that. I could see Sean O'Malley versus Tank Davis going down in the boxing world if Dana decided to sort of try out the boxing world and see what happens. But I like that fight. That would be a fun fight, right? I think so. Let me know. So here's the fight that I really, I would love to see this fight, right? I would love to see GSP come back to fight a guy like Khabib. What a crazy fight that would be. The weight classes are definitely off, so you could see GSP coming back potentially in 2025. I think that this could be the fight that he's talking about. Who would it be against? I don't know, because I don't think you're going to make Rockhold versus GSP. Bisping is just, you look at a guy like GSP, he's in such good shape still that this guy would come in here. He would whoop on Bisping if he fought Bisping right now. He would whoop on Rockhold. But I could see GSP coming back and maybe fighting for the title against a guy like that. Would be insane. But dude, GSP is one of those guys that is just still in really good shape, and I could see that. I could see GSP coming back. I think my dream matchup would be a Khabib versus a GSP, but I think that keep an eye out for GSP. Keep an eye out on his socials. Keep an eye out for any hints on the press conferences or anything like that, because I could see that. I could see GSP making a comeback. Maybe just a one-time thing, and that's why I say, whether it would be for the belt or whether it would just be for fun, it would be a 185-pound bout. I almost guarantee it. But keep an eye out on his socials for that, because I think that could definitely be a potential matchup. And just sort of circling back to another bold take. It's not super bold, but guys, I think that we're losing Israel Adesanya. We lost Dominic Cruz. We're also probably going to lose Henry Cejudo. And, we're losing a lot of really good fighters on the roster right now that set the stage. But this is why the UFC is so exciting, is because there's constantly up-and-comers that are ready to fight that, you wouldn't think. Look at a guy like Khamzat Chimaev. Like, early in his career, we knew he was a dog. We didn't really know he was going to make it this far, though, because it almost seemed too good to be true. But, that would be an awesome... It's going to be kind of sad to see these guys go, but it's also going to be awesome to see these up-and-comers. And the This is why you watch the prelims. This is why you watch the early prelims. And this is why you don't count anybody out, because anybody on any day can come in there and make a name for themselves. Renato Moicano, for example, I didn't really know who he was, but as soon as he started talking and his image popped up, it's like, this he might not be the next superstar, but this is what we look for in the UFC. So kind of sad, but, I want to end this video on a good note. Like and subscribe. Leave your comments. If you watch this video all the way through, appreciate that so much. You guys don't even know. If I get a view on my YouTube studio, I flip out. So any view that you give, any comment that you leave, any like that you give, man, it's just much appreciated. And we're going to keep hustling and pumping these videos out for just the MMA community, because I love talking about this shit. And like I said, man, if you're wanting to collab, if you're wanting to hop on this show, we'll get you on. Like I said, I got a basic setup, but I'm ready to talk and I'm ready to get dirty with it. So like I said, thanks everybody. Peace.